Michelle Dickens, she's the Managing Director of TPN, joins me now for a look at the new property transfer duties in South Africa. Michelle, thanks so much. Property duty transfers, maybe just remind us what the changes are, what happened before and what's been changed. It's been a while since the Minister Nhlanhla spoke about those changes.
So the property transfer duty is a tax levied on the purchase of a property. And in the past, we would look to pay transfer duties on any property over the value of 600,000 Rand. That has been changed now to a value of 750,000 Rand. Effectively, it means that any property transferred for the value below 750,000 Rand will not be paying transfer duties. There's then been a shift in the sliding scales of the, there's an increase in the tax, 3% through 6% through 8%, and now at the top end of the bracket, the top interest rate is 11% on properties transferred for over a value of 2.25 million Rand.
11% for over 2.25%. You know what it was before then? Or they're the ones that are feeling the bulk of the pressure?
They're the ones that are feeling the bulk of the pressure. In the past, the top end of the tier was 8%, so it is a shift of 3% from 8 to 11%. The mid-tier, though, I must stress, properties that are valued below 2.5 million Rand are actually feeling a decrease in the value of the property transfer tax when the calculation is performed. So it's really only properties valued at over 2.5 million that are going to be paying more on transfer duties when you do the calculation.
When you look at the property market, houses that are below, at 750 and below, how big is that market?
So we did a calculation from an investor's perspective, and we looked at 83% of properties that are rented below 7,000 Rand sit on our database. When you work out the TPN FMB property yield back, which sits at 9% at the moment, that yield, when you work that calculation back, it means that those properties are valued at around about 756,000 and below. So for an investor's perspective, coming into the market, those investors will not be paying transfer duties on properties that they are purchasing, which of course is a savings for those investors. The FMB average house price is sitting at around about 900,000 Rand. So again, you're going to be paying transfer duties, but it's not maybe 15,000–20,000 Rand.
So this is good news for new entrants into the market.
Correct.
Let's now talk about the guys who can afford those 2.25 million Rand properties. Will this not deter them? If you're moving from 8% to now 11% that they're going to have to pay, will they think twice before they buy a property in South Africa? I
don't think so. I think when you look at the grander scheme of the outlay, especially when you're looking at the need to have deposits, so banks are still looking at 10, 15, 20% deposits. These are people that have savings, that are probably selling a property at the moment and upscaling. So in all likelihood, I don't think it'll deter them.
So looking at the Western Cape, those lovely houses there, those are probably the ones who will be impacted the most.
Sure. We have houses on the West Cape that are valued, I think their properties on the market at 110 million Rand. There's properties in Strathaven, Hyde Park. I honestly don't believe that it's going to deter them from purchasing or have an impact on the property prices in terms of what's on the market.
The real estate market, have they welcomed this?
I think that for new entrants, I think the majority of sales are in the low end of the market, and there's definitely a cost saving there. So absolutely, I do believe that the real estate market has welcomed it.
Let's just go back to the new entrants here. So if you are just over, or before, if it was about 750,000, you said the threshold was 600,000. So what is the saving now that we're looking at? So for somebody who was paying 700, or who was buying a property with 750,000, how much would the transfer duty, what would it have been, and what are they saving now?
So the calculations work out from about 25,000 Rand at your 750,000 Rand mark, or up to about 10,000 as you go up through the scale. So as your properties are increasing in value, the saving is decreasing, but it starts at around about 25,000 Rand.
That's been interesting. Maybe let's also just talk about the property sector in general, away from these regulations that are happening. Are there any particular changes in this particular market that one needs to be aware of?
Sure, I think from an investor's perspective, house prices are going up. But there's also a huge supply of tenants that are looking to rent. So from an investor's perspective, now is a fabulous time to be looking to getting into the buy-to-let market. The yields are quite nice. We're looking at around about 9%. In the lower end of the market, we're looking at closer to 10%, 9.75%. So the yields are very appealing at the moment. Some of the factors to consider, though, are your costs. So when you're looking at things like your municipal costs, your increase in electricity tariffs, those are the type of costs, the levy costs on certain complexes, the financial stress on certain complexes. These are things that need to be taken into consideration when looking at the areas and the body corporates and the trustees and the managing agents of the complexes that are running these complexes.
Oh, Michelle, thank you so much. So the yields are still attractive, but do bear in mind those costs that do make up what you are paying for that property. Thanks so much. That was Michelle Dickens. She's the Managing Director of TPN.